Hello, I'm Terry Meyer. I'm a member of Convivium Renewable Energy, a consulting group in town of independent renewable energy professionals. We kind of cover all the bases. My specialties have been wind and small hydro. Integrated resource planning is one of our focuses. In fact, I've been on the Puget Sound Energy Integrated Resource Management something group in the past. And this is basically what Bellingham's doing right now, is trying to figure out what are our resources and how do we get them and what do we do. It's not the exact same process PSC goes through, but it's the same idea of what do we got, how do we get it, and what's the best way to go forward. And we assist in development of distributed renewable energy. So just some basics on wind power. It is, the most fast adopted, most economical source of new energy, fossil or otherwise, in the USA and the world today. It's a mature technology. There's no hoping for something better. That said, things are getting better slowly, as all technology does, and wind turbines are getting better and better in lower, more modest wind environments. Wind energy, well, I bet you everybody who really knows their industry gets frustrated with all of the myths and misinformation. In the case of wind, intentional misinformation that's out there. And, of course, every bit of it has a seed of truth. So just to kind of start, on level like birds, it's possible for a wind turbine to impact birds, but the permitting requirements on wind turbines to address birds are almost excessive in their prevention of that. There's that potential problem is rare, and it's known how to avoid it. Noise, they make a whooshing noise if you're close to them. The current ban on wind power in Whatcom County was based on people coming to the council saying, oh, there's this wind turbine syndrome that's caused by the low frequency vibrations coming from these wind turbines. And you look at the spectral analysis of the vibrations, it's crashing waves from the ocean. So if you got a seafront house, you're going to have the same, horrible impacts of this this made-up disease. A lot of people think, oh, the small wind turbines are better. You can get it close to the house where the wind speeds up, or it's just not true. Bigger turbines, A, can use better technology, and B, they're taller where the wind is faster, and you get more wind. If you double the wind speed, you get 8 times the wind power. So you want to give them the fastest wind possible, and that's up higher. Wind power is inconsistent, yes. We saw Puget Sound Energy's diagram. Of course it is. But one of the great things about distributed energy is my consistency here is very different than the inconsistency in Kittitas County. It's very different than the inconsistency even down in Skagit County if you're exposed to the northeasters or if you're exposed to the valley winds. So this is something where distribution and diversity can deal with part of the variability in renewables. And the other one I always hear is, oh, we don't have any wind here. And so the next slide. So one of the things I've done is tried to show people, hey, you could do this, and eventually people take the study, say thank you very much, they put it on the shelf, and so in 2009 I just started doing it and looking for where could we produce wind in Whatcom County. Well, Cherry Point likely has very good wind because I helped the Lummi Nation to get the funds to do a thorough wind resource study that shows that with today's technology, it's viable there, right next door. Seaholm Hill is a viable wind resource location likely. I've been working with Students for Renewable Energy who's been foiled by various entities, maybe even the city at one point, in trying to measure the wind there, to get something on the cell tower there to measure the wind. The city owns property on Queen Mountain just north of the city border. I think it's in the UGA. That's likely a good wind resource. I've measured the wind on Galbraith and Lookout Mountain, and it's very good and very viable wind resource there. Also, Lake Patton might have a decent wind resource. Stewart Mountain is the big mountain kind of on your right as you head out the Mount Baker Highway. Anderson Mountain, you don't think about it much. It's on the west side of the road as you go down the Highway 9. And then the infamous Squalicum Mountain, where neighbors heard that I went to the neighbors, said, hey, what do you think about a wind project here? And then they went to the internet and found lies and got scared, and we have a wind ban now. So there's plenty of wind in Whatcom County. What is restricting community wind? Fair market access is a big part of it. Virtual net metering was just mentioned. That's a great tool for doing community wind. Green Direct program is a method the PSC has developed to try to start to deal with that. But really, to get the value that local wind power provides to the person producing it, that method doesn't exist. Right now, Puget Sound Energy does not have a method to value a wind turbine sitting outside of the city of Bellingham powering Bellingham versus a wind turbine in Ellensburg or further. So that's something. The previous speaker talked about the incentives. They're not for people. There are other utility policies that make it tough to implement renewable energy in the way that seems like it would be natural now because we have a utility system based on large sources of energy from far away. That's the way our system is based. It runs that way. It made tons of sense when that's what the sources of energy were. Now we're in the process of changing, and we're fortunate that Puget Sound Energy sees that to a degree, and has been more willing than most utilities to start heading in that direction. There's a lot further to go, and it's great to have it all part of the mix. And it's not the way we do it outside of utilities, so other services don't exist. The other big thing is permitting, is getting enough understanding in the local jurisdictions to know what it is that they're doing. And let good projects happen, and don't let bad projects happen, and don't stop good projects. So that's a learning process and can be political, unfortunately. So here locally, we had a public process, and the dates might be wrong. I did them off the top of my head before the thing today. But we had a public process in Whatcom County, developed a wind ordinance. It stayed on the books until 2011, when I proposed a wind project, and neighbors who were politically connected to the council at that time pulled whatever strings they needed to do, got a temporary ban. Over a year of countering internet blogs with peer-reviewed science, we ended up with an ordinance that is basically a ban if you know what you're looking at on wind power. Really on any size. It says it's okay in certain areas, but even in those areas, it's not really possible if you tried. But in 2017, wind energy was explicitly put into the comprehensive plan for the county. In 2018, the Planning Commission said, yes, we need a new wind ordinance. That's going to be how we're going to get to the future. Please, County Council, pick it up. And the County Council hasn't picked it up yet. And not because they don't really want to. There's a great council, and they just have had bigger fish to fry, and it hasn't been first on their agenda. So I mentioned before, there are sites that are within city jurisdiction, so we're not beholden to the county, as if we're looking from a Bellingham-centric perspective. And you happen to be wealthy in wind energy expertise as far as understanding and navigating wind. There's myself, John Bosch, Chris and Mia Devine are all experienced wind energy specific professionals that live here and will be happy to help. So you've got some brains in the work. Oh, here we go. So here's a what role can Western take? This is an older slide too. I bet you it's more than 30 now. Colleges and universities with wind turbines, and can Western be one of them? Maybe, if they want to. And what role can Bellingham take? Develop wind, or allow wind to be developed. Just word from the city would probably help nudge the council to put the ordinance onto the agenda. There are a number of local projects that could go forward if they had a firm purchaser in hand. Oh, hey, I want this to happen. All right. If I've got a contract with you through maybe Green Direct or whatever to buy it, then that project can get developed. And then negotiating for market access. I mean, the real for itself as an entity that buys power, as well as a representative for the city, you have a lot of power to kind of be that guide to the people who are trying to roll with the market of what they need to do in order to keep up. This is a picture in Great Britain, community wind project. All of these people are holding their shares of this one turbine that's then going to then bring the power back to their homes. So they've, I don't know if this is particularly a virtual net metering arrangement, but something similar. This here is the Hull wind turbine. This wind turbine is you have to kind of squeeze a little bit to get between it and the fence at the edge of the football field in Hull, Massachusetts, where they're not known for being especially happy-go-lucky. They put this wind turbine in, loved it, and there's another one in the road. And in this arrangement, they worked with their utility to create a specific to their town rate for electricity based on what they bought, because they were producing with just this one turbine a good chunk of what their town, including the town and the citizens of the town, but we're doing. So I don't think they created a municipal utility, but they did create some sort of special arrangement where at first they were paying more for electricity, and now they're actually paying less than for electricity than other people that are customers of the same utility. So they did it, so can you. Here's a community wind turbine in Ellensburg that I put up. There's people getting their power from this turbine through a sort of program that I put together. This is the Palmdale Water District, a municipal utility said, oh, we need more power. This is outside of LA. Let's put up a wind turbine and save our energy. The center one is Grays Harbor, Washington, where the Community Action Agency developed this wind project and has got it almost for free with all the ways they were able to, as a nonprofit, put different pieces together in the financing package. And the profits from this are funding their Community Action Agency's low-income energy assistance programs. This one is not the best picture because I took it as I was driving by really quick near Sacramento. But that's a wind turbine at the Budweiser plant in Sacramento. So it's just industry saying, hey, if there's a permitting pathway and there's a way to get the value, the net metering law in California is over a megawatt, I believe, whereas here it's 100 kilowatts, so they can put up a wind turbine and get all the benefit from it for their factory. And here, just beyond this housing development, is the even bigger second turbine at Hull, because they like the first one so much. And this is a bunch of people breaking ground on their brand new wind turbine. So that is kind of the overview, and this is me. And I'll take questions when the questions come. Oh, and I have here for all y'all, and you can pass it around to the crowd afterwards. So the year after Convivium started, sitting around the table with some of our founding members, including Alex Rammel, who's here, Dana Brandt, part of Ecotech Solar, Kevin Moss, who developed a good number of the digesters in the county. And we're like, could we make Whatcom County 100% renewable? Is that on the thumb drive, Claire, by the way? That thing? No. Okay, sorry I can't put it up there. But basically, you had the same pie chart as before. PSE is kind of a third coal, third hydro, third natural gas, more or less. But what could it be? And we, using our knowledge of our industry, said, well, Whatcom County could have this much more anaerobic digestion. We could put in a woody biomass plant. There's about this much one-stream hydro potential. And we came up with a graph that all of our electric supply could be created with renewable energy. And it was 42% wind and, 20% hydro, 35% with a solid biomass plant, manure at 3%, solar at 2%. And so it was like, oh, this is, we just kind of, what's a realistic, what could really happen here? And it came out to more than we were actually using. The flyer I had, I just looked at it, I just saw it just as I was walking out the door, because oh, right, wasn't there that graph? And this is a proposal dated March 11th, 2009, at the time to the Clean Air Agency and a couple other things, where we're like, okay, let's do 100% renewable energy for Whatcom County. And here we are 10 years later, trying again. So congratulations, and maybe we'll make it's surprising how relevant it is, because nothing really happened in the last 10 years, but we'll get there.